In a small, quiet town surrounded by rolling hills and endless fields, there lived a man named Arman. He was a simple man, known by everyone for his kind heart and gentle nature. He lived alone in a modest house on the edge of the town. Though his life was simple, he always found joy in small things, watering his garden, feeding the stray animals, or helping his neighbors with little chores. One chilly autumn morning, as the golden sun rose over the fields, Arman was walking to the market to buy some vegetables. The streets were empty except for a few shopkeepers opening their shops and the soft chirping of birds. Suddenly, he heard faint cries coming from the alley near the old bakery. Curious and concerned, he followed the sound. There, huddled in the corner, were two small girls. Their clothes were torn, their faces pale from hunger and fear, and their eyes held a sadness far older than their young ages. Arman's heart tightened. He could see that they were alone, and it was clear that they had no one to care for them. "Hello, little ones," Arman said gently, kneeling down to their level. "Are you lost?" The girls looked at him with wide, cautious eyes. The older one, maybe 8 years old, spoke softly. We have no home. We have nowhere to go." Arman felt a pang of sorrow. He knew immediately that these girls had suffered greatly, and he could not leave them in the cold. "Don't worry," he said, his voice steady and warm. "You can come with me. I will take care of you." For a moment the girls hesitated. Trust did not come easily to children who had known loss and hardship, but something in Arman's kind eyes and calm presence gave them hope. Slowly they nodded, and he took their small hands in his. Back. At his house, Arman made a simple breakfast of bread, milk, and honey. The girls ate slowly, and with each bite they seemed to relax a little. Arman watched them with care, making sure they felt safe. He talked to them gently, asking about their favorite stories, their hobbies, and what made them happy. Though their answers were quiet, he noticed tiny smiles beginning to appear. Over the next few days, Arman worked tirelessly to make the girls feel at home. He cleaned and mended his small house to accommodate them, washing their clothes and preparing meals. He even built a small reading nook by the window, where the sunlight fell in the morning so the girls could feel warmth and comfort. The townspeople at first were surprised. "Arman, can you really care for 2 children all by yourself?" some whispered. Others thought he was taking on too much, but Arman never worried about what others thought. His heart told him that helping these girls was the right thing to do, and that was enough. Days turned into weeks, and slowly the girls began to open up. The older girl, who was named Layla, loved to draw. Arman would sit with her, encouraging her to express her feelings on paper. Her younger sister, Noor, had a curious mind and loved listening to Arman's stories about the stars, the animals, and the simple joys of life. Arman found happiness in the little things. The way Layla would giggle when her drawings turned into funny shapes, or how Noor's eyes sparkled with curiosity when he explained the names of the flowers in his garden. He realized that despite the hardships they had faced, these girls had a resilience that was extraordinary. They had survived the worst, and now they were learning to smile again. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, the girls sat by the fireplace with Arman. Layla held a small notebook, filled with sketches of flowers, animals, and the house they now called home. Noor was curled up beside her, listening intently to Arman's voice. "You see," Arman said softly, "life can be very hard, and sometimes people lose everything. But even when the world feels dark, there is always light somewhere. And sometimes, that light is in the kindness of others." The girls looked at him, their eyes reflecting both wonder and trust. They had known loss, fear, and loneliness, but for the first time in their lives they felt hope. They realized that Arman's home was not just a house. It was a place where love and safety existed, a place where they could grow, dream, and be themselves. As the days passed, the bond between them grew stronger. Arman taught the girls simple lessons about life: honesty, kindness, patience, and the importance of helping others. He also taught them practical skills like cooking, gardening, and caring for animals. Layla and Noor flourished under his guidance. They learned not just to survive, but to live with dignity and joy. One cold winter morning, the town woke to a gentle snowfall. The streets were blanketed in white, and children ran outside, making snowmen and throwing soft snowballs. Layla and Noor were among them, laughing freely, their cheeks rosy from the cold. Armin watched them from the doorway, a warm smile on his face. For the first time since he had found them, he felt that the past sorrow had been replaced by a new chapter, a chapter of hope, love, and family. Though life was still simple and money was often tight, Armin never regretted his decision. He had learned that true happiness came not from wealth or comfort, but from the love one gives and receives. The girls had come into his life unexpectedly, yet they had brought a joy and purpose that he had never known before, and so in that quiet town, a small but remarkable family began to form. It was not perfect, and the world outside could be harsh, but inside that modest house there was warmth, safety, and an unspoken promise. No matter what happened, they would face life together. Little did Armin know that this simple act of kindness, sheltering two orphaned girls, would set in motion events that would change their lives forever. 12 years from now, the world would witness something extraordinary. But for now, all that mattered was the quiet, tender bond forming between a humble man and two children who had finally found a home. The years passed quietly in the small town, yet within Armin's modest home life was full of warmth, laughter, and learning. Layla and Noor grew with each passing year, their personalities blossoming like the flowers in Armin's garden. Layla, with her thoughtful eyes and gentle hands, found solace in drawing and painting, often capturing the world around her in delicate strokes of color. Noor, younger by 2 years, had a lively spirit and an insatiable curiosity about everything, from the stars in the night sky to the smallest insects crawling in the garden. Armin watched the girls with a quiet pride. Every morning he woke before dawn, tending to his chores while thinking of ways to make their lives better. He fixed their meals, mended clothes, and even taught them how to grow vegetables in a small patch of land behind the house. He believed that life was not only about survival, but also about learning to appreciate simple joys, the warmth of sunlight, the taste of freshly baked bread, and the sound of laughter echoing through a home. School was an important part of their routine. Layla and Noor attended the town's small school, and though they were quiet at first, their intelligence and creativity soon became apparent. Layla's drawings and her meticulous attention to detail caught the eye of her teachers. Noor, on the other hand, asked countless questions and eagerly absorbed every lesson, always seeking to understand how things worked. The girls often came home and excitedly shared their discoveries with Armin, who always encouraged them to keep learning and exploring. "Look, Armin," Noor would exclaim, "I learned about the planets today. Did you know some stars are bigger than our sun?" Armin smiled and nodded, lifting her onto his lap. "Yes, Noor, the universe is full of wonders, and one day you might discover something no one else has ever seen." Evenings at home were often the most precious. The family would gather around the fireplace, sharing stories, ideas, and dreams. Armin read aloud from books he borrowed from the town library, bringing to life tales of distant lands, brave explorers, and acts of kindness that changed the world. Layla and Noor would listen, their eyes wide with wonder, imagining themselves in those stories, dreaming of adventures that seemed far away but not impossible. The townspeople began to notice the changes too. At first, they had been skeptical of Armin's ability to care for the two girls alone, but as the years went by, they saw how well the girls were growing, happy, healthy, and full of curiosity. They began to respect Armin not only for his kindness but for his dedication. Mothers would bring their children to him for advice, and neighbors would occasionally help with small tasks, creating a quiet network of support. Despite the growing warmth around them, life was not without challenges. Money was always tight, and sometimes Armin had to make difficult choices to ensure the girls had what they needed. There were days when the cupboards were nearly empty, and he worried about their future. But he never allowed fear to overshadow hope. Instead, he taught Layla and Noor the value of perseverance, patience, and gratitude. "You must always remember," he told them one rainy afternoon, "life will not always be easy. But your kindness, courage, and determination will guide you through even the darkest days. As the girls grew older, they developed a deep bond with each other. Layla, protective and thoughtful, often guided Noor through difficult moments, while Noor's curiosity and optimism lifted Layla's spirits. Together they learned to face challenges, solve problems, and dream without fear. They began to see Arman not just as a guardian, but as the anchor of their lives, the person who had given them a second chance at happiness. One spring morning, Layla approached Arman with a nervous expression. "Arman," she said softly, "I want to show you something." She led him to the small room she had converted into an art studio. Her walls were covered with drawings and sketches, each one more detailed than the last. There were drawings of the garden, the town, and even the stars in the night sky. "I want to be an artist one day," Layla explained, "and I want people to see the beauty of the world the way I do." Arman's eyes glistened with pride. "Then you must follow your heart, Layla. Keep drawing, keep learning, and never stop believing in yourself." Meanwhile, Noor's talents became equally remarkable. She loved science and mathematics, always eager to experiment and discover new things. She constructed small models of planets, drew maps of constellations, and spent hours reading about the mysteries of the universe. Arman encouraged her curiosity, often helping her with simple experiments and asking questions that made her think critically. "You are destined for something special, Noor," Arman said one evening as they studied the stars together. "Never let anyone tell you that your dreams are too big. The universe is larger than we can imagine, and you have the power to explore it." The years passed, and the three of them became inseparable. Their home was filled with laughter, music, and creativity. Even in the face of challenges, Arman's steadfast love provided a sense of security that allowed Layla and Noor to flourish. They learned not just from books, but from the example of kindness, patience, and courage that Arman lived every day. Outside their home, the world continued in its usual rhythm. The town changed slowly, seasons shifted, and life went on. But within the small house on the edge of town, time seemed to move differently. Here, moments of learning, laughter, and love were treasured above all else. And while Arman could not foresee what the future held, he knew that these years were shaping the girls into extraordinary young women. Brave, intelligent, and compassionate, little by little, the girls' talents began to attract attention beyond the town. Teachers praised their work, neighbors marveled at their intelligence, and even strangers occasionally commented on their unique abilities. Layla's art began to be recognized in local exhibitions, while Noor's scientific curiosity led her to win small awards in school competitions. Though the achievements were modest, they were milestones that hinted at the potential the girls possessed. Potential that had been nurtured by Arman's unwavering care. One quiet evening, as the three of them sat under the stars in the garden, Arman reflected on the journey so far. He thought about the day he had first found Layla and Noor in the alley, their fearful eyes, their hunger, and their loneliness. And now, 12 years later, they were no longer frightened children. They were vibrant, intelligent, and full of hope. "I never imagined life would bring such joy," Arman whispered to himself, watching the girls laugh as they pointed out constellations in the night sky. "I only did what seemed right, and look what it has become." Unbeknownst to him, the story of Layla and Noor was only beginning. Their talents, nurtured with love and care, would soon attract attention far beyond their quiet town. And 12 years from that fateful day, the humble man who had given them a home would witness something extraordinary, something that would change all their lives forever. But for now, in the warmth of their home, surrounded by love and laughter, Arman, Layla, and Noor simply lived each day with hope, kindness, and the quiet certainty that together, they could face anything the world had in store. By the time Layla and Noor were in their late teens, the quiet town had become aware of their remarkable talents. Layla's artwork was no longer just a personal hobby. Her drawings captured the imagination of everyone who saw them. She could take simple things, flowers in the garden, the curve of a river, the flight of a bird, and turn them into images that told stories full of life, emotion, and hope. Noor, on the other hand, had grown into a bright and inquisitive young woman, fascinated by science and the mysteries of the universe. Her experiments, observations, and questions often amazed even her teachers. Arman watched them with quiet pride. He remembered the first time he had found them shivering in the alley, hungry and afraid. Now they were thriving, full of curiosity, courage, and dreams. It was a testament not only to their own resilience but to the quiet love and care that had guided them for over a decade. One spring afternoon, the town held its annual fair. People from neighboring villages gathered to display their talents, goods, and crafts. Layla's artwork was displayed in a small gallery tent, and her drawings immediately caught the attention of visitors. Some were local artists, others were teachers from the city. They marveled at her ability to convey emotion and life in her work. "She has a rare gift," said one woman, a visiting art teacher. "Her work is beyond her age. With proper guidance, she could go far." Layla blushed at the praise, glancing at Armin. "I just paint what I feel," she whispered. Meanwhile, Noor had entered a small science competition. She had built a model of the solar system that demonstrated planetary movement, using simple mechanical parts and innovative ideas. Judges were impressed not only by her technical skill, but by her deep understanding of science and astronomy. "This is extraordinary," one of the judges remarked. "She has the mind of someone far beyond her years." Armand felt a swell of pride in his chest. He had always encouraged their curiosity, their creativity, and their persistence, but seeing the outside world recognize their talents was both surprising and humbling. The attention the girls received did not go unnoticed. A small letter arrived one afternoon, delivered by a courier from a distant city. It was an invitation for both Layla and Noor to participate in a special program for young talents, a program that connected gifted children with mentors and resources that could help them develop their abilities even further. The program promised guidance, exposure to new ideas, and opportunities that the girls could never have imagined in their quiet town. Armand read the letter aloud to the girls, his hands trembling slightly with emotion. "This is a chance for you both," he said softly. "A chance to learn, to grow, and to see the world in ways we have only dreamed of." Layla and Noor exchanged glances. Excitement and nervousness filled their eyes. "But what about us staying here, Armin?" Layla asked. "This is so far away." Armand smiled gently, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You will always have a home here. I will always be here for you. Sometimes to follow your dreams, you must take steps beyond what is familiar. I am proud of you, and I want you to explore every opportunity." With Armin's encouragement, the girls decided to participate in the program. It was a new chapter, filled with challenges, learning, and adventure. Layla traveled to art workshops in the city, meeting other young artists and learning techniques that expanded her creativity. Noor attended science camps and seminars, interacting with experts who shared their knowledge and inspired her curiosity. Even from afar, Armin remained a constant presence in their lives. They wrote letters every week, sharing their experiences, discoveries, and the excitement of learning new things. He responded with advice, encouragement, and reminders of the values he had taught them: kindness, perseverance, and the importance of helping others. As the girls thrived in their new environments, they began to show signs of something extraordinary, an intuitive understanding of things beyond what they had learned. Layla's art sometimes seemed to capture not only the physical world but emotions, patterns, and events that were yet to come. Noor's scientific insights were often innovative, showing solutions and ideas that surprised even the most experienced mentors. One evening, as Armin was reading a letter from Noor, he paused at her words. "Armin, something strange happened today. I was observing the stars and noticed a pattern I've never seen before. It feels important. I don't fully understand it yet, but I think it might be connected to something larger." Armin's heart quickened. He did not fully understand what she meant, but he felt the same quiet wonder he had felt when he first noticed the girls' talents. There was something special about them, something that reached far beyond the ordinary. Meanwhile, Layla wrote about a dream she had seen, a vivid vision of a shining city, strange machines, and people dressed in unusual garments. "It felt real," she explained in her letter. "I know it is not just a dream. It is something I am meant to see someday." Armin read her words with a mixture of awe and concern. He had always believed in nurturing their talents and encouraging them to explore. But now he realized that their gifts might be part of something far bigger than he could imagine. Despite the mysteries and the growing attention, life at home remained simple and comforting when the girls returned during breaks. They would tell Armin about their adventures, discoveries, and the friends they had made. Armin listened with pride, his heart swelling with love for the young women they had become. It was during one of these visits that the first hint of something extraordinary occurred. Noor, experimenting in the small garden behind the house, discovered an unusual pattern in the sunlight reflecting on a water puddle. She measured and calculated, and to her astonishment, the pattern aligned perfectly with a constellation she had studied. It was as if the universe itself was sending a message, one that only she could understand. Layla, observing this, sketched the pattern with great detail, capturing not only its shape but the feeling it gave her, a sense of connection to something vast and beyond the world she knew. Arman watched silently, understanding that the girls were no longer ordinary. Their talents, nurtured through years of love and guidance, were beginning to reveal something extraordinary, something that might one day reach beyond their small town, beyond their world, and into realms he could not yet imagine. The town continued its quiet rhythm, unaware of the larger forces slowly taking notice of these two remarkable girls. To everyone else, they were bright, talented young women, but to Arman, they were the living proof that kindness, love, and patience could nurture extraordinary gifts. And as the stars twinkled above their little town, Arman could not shake the feeling that something monumental was approaching, a moment that would test the girls' talents, their courage, and the quiet, steadfast love that had shaped their lives. For now, he simply held on to them, proud of their growth, and quietly prepared for the extraordinary future that awaited them all. It had been 12 years since Arman first found Layla and Noor in the alley, frightened and alone. The two young women had grown into confident, intelligent, and extraordinarily talented individuals. Layla's art had become well known beyond the town, and Noor's discoveries in science had drawn attention from scholars and mentors in the city. Yet despite all the praise and recognition, Arman remained their anchor, the quiet presence that had nurtured them from childhood. One clear afternoon, as the girls were helping Arman in the garden, a strange hum filled the air. The sound was unlike anything they had ever heard, low and vibrating, almost musical in tone. Birds scattered from the trees, and the wind seemed to carry a faint shimmer of light across the fields. The girls looked at each other, their expressions a mix of curiosity and caution. "What is that?" Noor asked, her scientific mind already racing with possibilities. "I don't know," Arman admitted, squinting at the sky. "It's unusual." Then they saw it. A massive starship shining with brilliant light descended slowly from the sky. It hovered above the open field near the town, casting a gentle glow that reflected in the girls' eyes. The ship was unlike any aircraft they had seen. Sleek, elegant, and immense, it radiated an aura of authority and peace. The townspeople gathered, stunned, as the starship remained motionless above the fields. Children stared with wide eyes, and adults whispered in amazement. Arman felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. He had never imagined that the quiet life of his family could intersect with something so extraordinary. A door on the side of the ship opened, and a figure descended, floating gently to the ground. Clad in a uniform of shimmering fabric, the figure carried an air of dignity and kindness. The townspeople stepped back, uncertain, while Layla and Noor moved forward instinctively. "Arman," the figure said in a voice that was calm but carried immense authority, "we have come to speak with you and your family." Arman's heart raced. "My family?" he repeated, looking at the girls, then back at the figure. "Yes," the figure continued. "We have been observing the development of two extraordinary young women. Their talents are rare and important. We are here to offer guidance, recognition, and opportunity." Noor stepped forward, her eyes bright with curiosity. You know about us?" she asked. The figure nodded. "Your work, your discoveries, your creativity, they have been noted far beyond this world. It is time for your gifts to be shared and nurtured in ways that only we can provide." Arman felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. All these years he had simply wanted the girls to be safe, to learn, and to grow with love. He had never imagined that their talents would attract attention beyond the world they had known. "Why me?" Arman asked. "Why now? You were the one who nurtured them," the figure said gently. "Without your love, guidance, and protection, they would not have become what they are today. You are the reason they are ready for what comes next." The girls exchanged glances. Layla felt a thrill of excitement mixed with nervousness, while Noor's scientific mind raced with questions. What comes next?" Noor asked. The figure smiled kindly. "Opportunities, discoveries, and responsibilities. You have the potential to influence much more than just this town, but first we wish to recognize the man who made it possible. You, Arman, are as much a part of this journey as they are. Armin felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He had never sought recognition or reward. His life had been devoted to simple acts of love, and yet now, he realized that even the smallest choices, offering shelter to two orphaned girls, encouraging them to follow their dreams, had created ripples far beyond his understanding. The townspeople, who had gathered in the open field, watched in silent awe as the starship continued to hover above them. Many could not comprehend what they were seeing, but the light of the ship, the calm dignity of the figure, and the joy in Armin's eyes created a sense of wonder that no one could deny. "Come with us," the figure said to Armin. "You have guided them well, and now it is time for the next step. Your guidance will continue to be needed, and we wish to honor your role in their lives." Armin looked at Layla and Noor, and then at the small town he had always called home. He thought of the quiet mornings, the long evenings by the fireplace, the laughter, and the shared meals. He thought of the lessons he had taught them about kindness, courage, and patience, and he realized that all of it had prepared them for this extraordinary moment. I will go," Armin said finally, his voice steady, "but only because I know they are ready." The figure nodded, and together they walked toward the starship. Light seemed to embrace them as they approached, and the hum of the ship became a gentle vibration as if welcoming them. Layla and Noor stayed close to Armin, holding his hands tightly. They felt a mixture of excitement, fear, and awe, feelings that mirrored the journey they had taken together over the past 12 years. As they ascended the ramp into the ship, the townspeople watched in silence. Children clung to their parents, pointing to the shining vessel. Adults whispered prayers, blessings, and words of wonder. The air was filled with a quiet sense of magic and possibility, a reminder that extraordinary events could touch even the simplest of lives. Inside the ship, the girls marveled at the technology around them. Panels of light displayed information they could barely comprehend, and soft music filled the air, creating a feeling of calm and welcome. Armin held them close, proud of the young women they had become and aware that their journey was only beginning. "You have done well," the figure said to Armin, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Your role will continue, but for now, allow them to explore the world they are destined to impact. Trust in the foundation you have given them. It is strong enough to carry them forward." Armin looked at Layla and Noor, their eyes shining with wonder, hope, and courage. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Years of quiet love, patience, and guidance had led to this moment, an extraordinary event that would change their lives forever. As the starship lifted gently from the field, carrying them toward new horizons, Armin felt a quiet pride. The girls he had once found shivering in an alley were now stepping into a future filled with infinite possibilities. And though the world outside was vast and unknown, the love and guidance that had shaped them remained unwavering, ready to guide them through the adventures that awaited. Above the town, the starship shone like a beacon of hope, a reminder that kindness, courage, and love could create ripples that reached far beyond what anyone could imagine. And in that moment, Armin, Layla, and Noor realized that their extraordinary journey had only just begun. The starship glided through the sky like a shining comet, carrying Armin, Layla, and Noor toward a world none of them had ever imagined. Inside, the ship's soft light bathed the cabin in a warm glow. Panels of unfamiliar technology displayed information in languages and symbols that seemed both alien and beautiful. Despite the wonder surrounding them, Armin's mind was focused on the girls. He had watched them grow from frightened orphaned children into intelligent, courageous young women, and now he saw their true potential waiting to unfold. A voice echoed through the cabin, calm and kind. "Welcome. We are honored to meet the individuals whose lives have inspired change far beyond your world." Armin looked up and saw beings who radiated dignity and warmth. They were not frightening but majestic, with a presence that commanded respect. Layla and Noor stood beside him, their hands gripping his, their eyes wide with awe. "You have done more than shelter these girls," one of the figures continued. "You nurtured them, guided them, and gave them the foundation to become extraordinary. Your role is as vital as theirs. You are the reason they are ready to fulfill their destiny." Armin felt a wave of humility and pride. He had never sought recognition, only hoping to give the girls love, safety, and a chance at life. And now, in this moment, the universe itself acknowledged his quiet dedication. The girls were led to a chamber filled with light and soft music. Holographic images displayed their achievements, Layla's intricate drawings and Noor's innovative scientific models. The figures explained that their talents were rare even across the universe. Many worlds sought gifted individuals who could think creatively, solve complex problems, and inspire others. Layla and Noor were among the rare few chosen to make a difference on a scale far larger than their small town could have imagined. Armin watched quietly as the girls absorbed the information, their faces a mixture of excitement, awe, and determination. Layla's fingers traced the images of her artwork projected in mid-air, while Noor studied the diagrams of complex systems, already thinking of new experiments and discoveries. "You both have been prepared for this journey by someone who believed in you when no one else could," the figure said, turning to Armin. "You will continue to guide them, but it is time for them to step forward and embrace their potential." Layla turned to Armin, her eyes shimmering with gratitude. "We would not be here without you," she said softly. "You believed in us when we had nothing, when we had no hope. Everything we are, everything we will be, it is because of you." Noor added, "Your love, patience, and guidance gave us strength. We promise to make you proud and to use what we have learned to do good in ways we could never have imagined." Armin felt tears in his eyes. For 12 years, he had worried about providing enough food, enough warmth, enough love, and now he realized that those simple acts of care had shaped the lives of two extraordinary young women, lives that would touch the universe. The beings then invited Armin to a ceremonial chamber. Here he was honored not with wealth or titles, but with recognition that mattered far more. A declaration that his choices, his kindness, and his selfless dedication had created ripples that reached across the stars. He was celebrated not as a hero seeking fame, but as a man whose love had nurtured greatness. As the ceremony concluded, the Starship began a slow descent toward a distant world, a place where Layla and Noor could receive guidance and education on a universal scale. The girls were to study advanced arts, sciences, and philosophies from cultures and worlds beyond imagination. Armin was given the choice to stay or return to Earth. He chose to remain with them, understanding that their bond and his guidance were still vital. Life aboard the Starship was unlike anything they had ever experienced. The girls were introduced to advanced knowledge and ideas, yet they never forgot the lessons Armin had taught them. Layla's creativity grew exponentially as she worked alongside artists from different planets, learning new techniques and discovering new ways to express emotion and vision. Noor's scientific mind expanded, allowing her to explore technologies and concepts far beyond what she had imagined on Earth. Yet despite all the wonder, Armin remained their anchor. He reminded them to stay grounded, to value kindness, and to remember the simple truths that had guided them through life: love, patience, courage, and compassion. One evening, as they looked out through the transparent walls of the Starship, seeing stars and galaxies stretch into infinity, Layla spoke quietly. "Armin, I never imagined life could be like this. But the lessons you taught us, the love you gave us, it is what makes us strong. We are ready because of you." Noor nodded, adding, "Yes, you gave us hope when we had none, and now with your guidance we can reach beyond anything we ever dreamed." Armin smiled, feeling the full weight and joy of what they had accomplished together. He thought of the day he first found them, cold and alone, and realized that the greatest adventure had been the journey of love, care, and patience. The universe had recognized not just the girls' talents but the foundation he had built for them. Months turned into years and the girls flourished. Their work, creativity, and discoveries began to impact civilizations far and wide. Messages of inspiration and innovation spread from world to world, and the quiet man who had once sheltered two orphaned girls became a figure of deep respect and admiration, not for fame or power, but for the love and selflessness that had changed everything. One day, the girls returned to the Starship's observation deck to watch a small village on a distant planet. They looked at each other, then at Armin, and realized that everything they had accomplished, their talents, their recognition, and their journey, had a beginning in a simple act of kindness. "Everything started with you," Layla said softly, her hand resting on his. "Yes," Noor agreed, "and everything we do from here forward is because you gave us the chance to grow." Armin felt a deep sense of peace. He had given them a home, love, and hope, and in return they had become extraordinary. Their journey was only beginning, but the legacy of kindness, patience, and selfless love would live on forever. touching worlds beyond imagination. As the starship sailed through the stars, carrying them toward new adventures, Armin looked at Layla and Noor and thought about the journey that had started in a quiet alley 12 years ago. He realized that life's greatest power was not wealth, fame, or recognition. It was the love that one person could give to another, the guidance that could nurture potential, and the courage to act with kindness when it mattered most. And in that vast universe, amid stars, planets, and endless possibilities, a humble man who had sheltered 2 orphaned girls had created a legacy that would echo across time and space. A legacy of love, hope, and the extraordinary power of the human heart.